We prefer world law in the age of self-determination to world war in the age of mass extermination. The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. The only reason to give a speech is to change the world. Ask not that the journey be easy, ask instead that it be worth it. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Blight has descended on our regulatory agencies, and a dry rot, beginning in Washington, is seeping into every corner of America, in the payola mentality, the expense account way of life, the confusion between what is legal and what is right. If men and women are in chains anywhere in the world, then freedom is endangered everywhere. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. World peace, like community peace, does not require that each man love his neighbor. It requires only that they live together with mutual tolerance, submitting their disputes to a just and peaceful settlement. We must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Any danger spot is tenable if men, brave men, will make it so. Children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future. The United States has to move very fast to even stand still. There are many people in the world who really don't understand or say they don't what is the great issue between the free world and the communist world. Let them come to Berlin. The Chinese use two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. In a crisis, be aware of the danger, but recognize the opportunity. Lower rates of taxation will stimulate economic activity and so raise the levels of personal and corporate income as to yield within a few years an increased, not a reduced, flow of revenues to the federal government. Our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And we are all mortal. It might be said now that I have the best of both worlds. A Harvard education and a Yale degree. There is an old saying that the course of civilization is a race between catastrophe and education. In a democracy such as ours, we must make sure that education wins the race. When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. Never before has man had such a great capacity to control his own environment, to end hunger, poverty, and disease, to banish illiteracy and human misery. We have the power to make the best generation of mankind in the history of the world. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. A life of complete leisure is the hardest work of all. A nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. Only in winter can you tell which trees are truly green. Only when the winds of adversity blow can you tell whether an individual or a country has steadfastness. Our goal is not victory of might, but the vindication of right, not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom, here in this hemisphere and, we hope, around the world. God willing, that goal will be achieved. For if freedom and communism were to compete for man's allegiance in a world at peace, I would look to the future with ever-increasing confidence. The human mind is our fundamental resource. In giving rights to others which belong to them, we give rights to ourselves and to our country. politics is a jumble torn between doing the right thing and staying in office. There is nothing more certain and unchanging than uncertainty and change. Life isn't fair, and never was and never will be. It's only when they join together in a forward movement that this country moves ahead. I'm an idealist without illusions. Efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. I was never accepted into certain parts of New England society because my grandfather was an Irish barkeep. It is time for a new generation of leadership to cope with new problems and new opportunities. For there is a new world to be won. You never know what's hit you. A gunshot is the perfect way. Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education. The human mind is our fundamental resource. Every area of trouble gives out a ray of hope, and the one unchangeable certainty is that nothing is certain or unchangeable. We had a dog who was named Pashinka, who was given to my father by a Soviet official. And we trained that dog to slide down the slide we had in the back of the White House. Sliding the dog down that slide is probably my first memory. A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on. To state the facts frankly is not to despair the future nor indict the past. The prudent heir takes careful inventory of his legacies and gives a faithful accounting to those whom he owes an obligation of trust. A wall is a hell of a lot better than a war. The highest duty of the writer, the composer, the artist, is to remain true to himself and to let the chips fall where they may. Be aware of danger but recognize the opportunity. The only unchangeable certainty in life is that nothing is unchangeable or certain. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. I look forward to a great future for America, a future in which our country will match its military strength with our moral restraint, its wealth with our wisdom, its power with our purpose. Those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger ended up inside. Physical fitness is not only one of the most important keys to a healthy body, but it is also the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity. Foreign aid is a method by which the United States maintains a position of influence and control around the world. In serving his vision of the truth, the artist best serves his nation. Victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. For without belittling the courage with which men have died, we should not forget those acts of courage with which men have lived. If not us, who? If not now, when? Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. In a very real sense, it will not be one man going to the moon, it will be an entire nation. For all of us must work to put him there. Our task is not to fix blame for the past, but to fix the course for the future. Someone always needs rescuing, yet there's only one person who ever seems to understand you. It's a lot like being Lassie. The rising tide lifts all the boats. Everything changes but change itself. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men. For I can assure you that we love our country, not for what it was, though it has always been great, not for what it is, though of this we are deeply proud, but for what it someday can, and, through the efforts of us all, someday will be. Failure has no friends. Time and the world do not stand still. Change is the law of life. We believe that when men reach beyond this planet, they should leave their national differences behind them. The problem of power is how to achieve its responsible use rather than its irresponsible and indulgent use, of how to get men of power to live for the public rather than off the public. To those whom much is given, much is expected. Peace need not be impracticable, and war need not be inevitable. Since the time of the ancient Greeks, we have felt that there was a close relationship between a strong, vital mind and physical fitness. In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility, I welcome it. So, let us not be blind to our differences, but let us also direct attention to our common interests and to the means by which those differences can be resolved. A country is as strong, really, as its citizens. And I think that mental and physical health, mental and physical vigor, go hand in hand. We go into space because whatever mankind must undertake, free men must fully share. A young man who does not have what it takes to perform military service is not likely to have what it takes to make a living. Today's military rejects include tomorrow's hardcore unemployed. The Jewish people, ever since David slew Goliath, have never considered youth as a barrier to leadership. Conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. We stand for freedom. That is our conviction for ourselves, that is our only commitment to others. Tolerance implies no lack of commitment to one's own beliefs. Rather, it condemns the oppression or persecution of others. Man will be what he was born to be, free and independent. It is not our wealth that built our roads, but it is our roads that built our wealth. To be courageous requires no exceptional qualifications, no magic formula, no special combination of time, place, and circumstance. It is an opportunity that sooner or later is presented to us all. We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. America has tossed its cap over the wall of space. In order to know who you need to know God is. Peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, quietly building new structures. Just because we cannot see clearly the end of the road, that is no reason for not setting out on the essential journey. Great crisis produces great men and great deeds of courage. Knowledge of the oceans is more than a matter of curiosity. Our very survival may hinge upon it. Anyone who can solve the problems of water will be worthy of 2 Nobel Prizes, one for peace and one for science. Those whom nature hath so joined together, let no man put asunder. The best road to progress is freedom's road. I would encourage every American to walk as often as possible. It's more than healthy, it's fun. There is too little public recognition of how much we all depend upon farmers as stewards of our soil, water, and wildlife resources. The high office of the president has been used to foment a plot to destroy the Americans' freedom, and before I leave office, I must inform the citizens of this plight. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Wealth is the means, and people are the ends. All our material riches will avail us little if we do not use them to expand the opportunities of our people. I have a nice home, the office is close by, and the pay is good. While we cannot guarantee that we shall one day be first, we can guarantee that any failure to make this effort will make us last. We are not here to curse the darkness, but to light the candle that can guide us through that darkness to a safe and sane future. The federal government is the people, and the budget is a reflection of their need. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, tap the ocean depths, and encourage the arts and commerce. If the self-discipline of the free cannot match the iron discipline of the mailed fist, and economic, political, scientific, and all the other kinds of struggles, as well as the military, then the peril to freedom will continue to rise. My experience in government is that when things are non-controversial and beautifully coordinated, there is not much going on. Let us never negotiate out of fear. But let us never fear to negotiate. Never let your fears hold you back from pursuing your hopes. I want every American to be free to stand up for his rights, even if sometimes he has to sit down for them. The basis of self-government and freedom requires the development of character and self-restraint and perseverance and the long view. And these are qualities which require many years of training and education. The world is very different now. For man holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. A great change is at hand, and our task, our obligation, is to make that revolution, that change, peaceful and constructive for all. We are under-exercised as a nation. We look instead of play. We ride instead of walk. Our existence deprives us of the minimum of physical activity essential for healthy living. Moral courage is more a rare commodity than bravery in a battle or great intelligence. Nothing compares to the simple pleasure of a bike ride. The basis of effective government is public confidence, and that confidence is endangered when ethical standards falter or appear to falter. For plague and pestilence, plunder and pollution, the hazards of nature and the hunger of children are the foes of every nation. The earth, the sea, and the air are the concern of every nation. The Greeks understood that mind and body must develop in harmonious proportions to produce a creative intelligence. If I don't have a woman every 3 days or so, I get a terrible headache. I think the success of any school can be measured by the contribution the alumni make to our national life. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission. Domestic policy can only defeat us, foreign policy can kill us. Sincerity is always subject to proof. I do not say that all men are equal in their ability, character, and motivation. I do say that every American should be given a fair chance to develop all the talents they may have. We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda, it is a form of truth. It is insane that two men, sitting on opposite sides of the world, should be able to decide to bring an end to civilization. Life and freedom is not easy, and democracy is not perfect. A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers. It takes two to make peace. And with privilege goes responsibility. In a time of domestic crisis, men of goodwill and generosity should be able to unite regardless of party or politics. Politics is like football. If you see daylight, go through the hole. We must abolish nuclear weapons, or they will abolish us. Real men stay faithful. They don't have time to look for other women because they're too busy looking for new ways to love their own. Only an educated and informed people will be a free people. It was involuntary. They sank my boat. War and hunger and ignorance and despair know no religious barrier.